Hi BookTube, it's Stephanie. So today I'm going to talk to you about all the books that I read in April, and I have been procrastinating this video for a month and a half. So I typically like to go in the order in which I read the books, but in April I read a lot of books in series and I didn't read them back to back. So once I get to a book I will just talk about all the books that I read by that author. I finished 17 things in April, so I'm like, am I done with this video already? I had to go and double check, and yes, it was 17. Majority of them graphic novels and mangas, but it still counts. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Witch Boy by Molly Knox Ostertag, which is a graphic novel following a boy who wants to be a witch. However, in this world or society or in this family or the persons who have powers, slightly unclear, the men are shapeshifters and the women are witches. That's it. However, the main character that we're following, Aster, he can't shapeshift, but he can do magic. So we are following his story as something is attacking his family and he finds a new friend outside and basically proves to them that he can do witchcraft. I like this story. I thought it was cute. I can't say that, oh, run out and read it, but it was a nice urban fantasy read and I enjoyed it, and I have also read the sequel to it. But this particular book, I really liked it. I did wish that it had a bit more to it, like it was longer and a bit more information, but I still liked it. Then I finished a trilogy of graphic novels by Rod Espiosa. That was The Courageous Princess, the third one being The Dragon Queen, the second one The Unremembered Lands, and the first one The 100 Kingdoms. No, Beyond the 100 Kingdoms. Yes, I just looked over. Now, this story, I love this. I'm having a hard time not spoiling things right now, but the first volume came out in the beginning of the 2000s, like 2002 I think it was, and the two sequels did not come out until 2015, so it was a long time coming. Now what this story is focusing on is the titular The Courageous Princess, and we are following Mabel Rose, who is the beloved daughter of her parents, the king and queen of, I don't remember actually the name of the city, and I will not look it up. Because in this world, each major city is kind of like its own kingdom. And so that's why it's called the 100 Kingdoms. And Mabel Rose is the princess of the 176th one. And all of these people in this world, all these kings and queens, they are descendants from fairy tale kings and queens. So we have relations to Snow White, we have references to the 12 Dancing Princesses, we even have Oz references and things like that, and I really like that. It was the first book especially was peppered with all of these Easter eggs, in which I know where that links from, I know where that's from, and I really like this. Now, you can say that Mabel Rose is a classical, not like other girls. However, I would kinda disagree, because unlike most, not like other girls, she was raised this way. Her parents loves her, they don't think she's weird, they think it's weird that the other princesses thinks that she's poor, that she's, you know, lower. They love her. And I loved the fact that it was so evident that her parents didn't care at all. They loved her and the people loved her. But yeah, it definitely has that sprinkle of not like other girls. But this story kicks off when Mabel Rose gets kidnapped by a dragon and get taken to the unremembered lands. And here's another Easter egg that, just look at the map, you can see it. It's the dragon takes her to the former Briar Castle. Like, no one dares to come there because it's dragons. I just loved this that's what I'm talking about. I loved it. And I also liked the fact that this was not to save her. It was not a prince who went out to save her. It was a father. He wanted to save her. And yes, he has princes who helps him, but he's their leader. And I just... thank you. Who knew that parents could be present? And we are basically following those two stories with some... shut up. With some sprinkles of what happens at home with the queen. And yeah, I gave that one 5 out of 5 stars. The first book was brilliant. The second 2 volumes that came out 2015, not as good according to me, but they were still really good. But you can tell that they were not as developed. That sounds wrong. It wasn't as impactful for me. For instance, as I said, in the first one you get these sprinkles with what happens in the hometown with the queen. You get that glimpse in the beginning of each of the sequels, but you learn things that happens that I will not say because that would spoil things. And it would have been so interesting to get that view as well from the queen, and it would also have taken out the story a bit. And also there's a kind of impressive tense moment that happens in the first book, that due to the fact that we don't get the flashbacks or the groups to the queen again, it kind of just drops. We don't have that tension anymore, which, yeah, I was kind of disappointed. And also it's the classic, we get introduced to a character in the second book and then we don't hear her name, we don't see her image again. Well, you can figure it out immediately as soon as you see her if you try this graphic novel series out, which I really think you should. But it was such a, yeah, I've already figured out, like, that was kind of bummer, to be honest. Trying to think, there was one more thing that I wanted to say. I did feel like the thread through all the volumes were kind of lost in the last book. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but the hero of all this series is definitely the first book, and I would highly recommend you trying it out, if nothing else just to see how many Easter eggs you can pick out. Then I finished Minecraft Redstone Handbook. This one came out in 2012, if I'm correct. 2014, so I was incorrect. Now, this one I read to fulfill my prompt. This is so out of date, if you know anything about Minecraft. It was funny to read some things and go, oh, this is how you need to do this, and you just go, no, you just need an observer instead. Yeah, this is definitely out of date, but I have at least read it. Then I finished volumes 13 and 14 of That Time I Got Reincarnated as Slime, that's created by Fuse and manga by Taika Kawakami. I love this series, and now I just need to wait because I have gotten caught up. This is really good. This one, I can't say anything. War. Yeah, war. I can't say anything else, but this basically trams up, and then at the end of this one you get built up, and it's just, I love this series. I'm a sucker for it. But yeah, I really enjoy these 2 volumes, and I would recommend that you try this series out. The first volumes are definitely more lighthearted, and it gets more serious as the series progresses. But I adore this series, and I will probably buy all the light novels and all the spin-offs because I need more, and I'm caught up, and I'm really upset about it. Then I finished off Vad du borde lärt i skolan men inte hann med eftersom livet kom emellan by Thomas Björklund. The title would translate to What you should have learned in school but didn't have time for because life got in the way, but I just think it's a bit fitting, more fitting end with life. And this is basically kind of a, how to explain it? You basically get some short points about some inventions, and like, for instance, this paragraph is 15 Swedish inventions, and we get the dynamite, the safety match, and things like that. So things that you should have learned, and things that probably your teachers taught you, but then now 15 to 20 years later, why should I remember it? It was a nice refresher because I did recognize a lot of this, especially in the math part because I'm a math nerd. But yeah, it was fun, but you can also tell when this, what year it's supposed to be. It's 2014, 2015. That's also when I got it, so yeah. Then I finished volume 1, 2, and 3 of the Demon Diary manga series. That's by Kara, and I don't remember what the first one's called, and I don't have that good eyesight that I can read it. But 2 and 3 was texted. It definitely some, I don't know what the English translations are, but Yoon-hee Lee is also part of it. I'm holding up volume 7, which is the last volume that I'm holding up, just to stand in because they are back at the library. I have enjoyed this series. I can't really say that it has a red thread in it though. It feels like, for instance, if we compare to that time I got Reincarnated as Klein, we are at volume 14 and we are dealing with a war. But basically, if we translate it to this part, to like how many mangas this one has taken it, we would probably be at number 5 or 6. Because I can't really say that we are skipping things. It's just, it doesn't feel like it has a red thread in it that much. We don't get that connection between or it's very, very loosely. I still enjoy it. I have continued it. And I just realized that I did not tell you what it's about. Whoops. We are following this guy who turns out that he's a demon lord. However, he knows nothing about being a demon lord, and he's basically way too nice. And he has trouble performing dark magic and things like that. And no one believes him when he says that he's a demon lord. And it's basically about the problems around what that ensues and what that basically means. I have enjoyed it, and with this one it will be the last volume. Would I recommend it? Yes and no, because as I said, I have enjoyed it, but it doesn't really have that thread in it in the entire series, but it is a fun and light-hearted read. I will, however, say that the last volumes, like let's see, 5 and 6, they had definitely more of a thread going through it with an arc that basically was those 2 volumes. whereas before each arc was one volume. And if you know anything about manga, I mean, an arc can be one volume, but then it's usually like just these are the characters, here you meet them, and those are the mangas where you know that you need to read a second volume to basically get more of an understanding on what this is going to be about. And I need to turn that sound off. So then I finished another non-fiction, and that was Nonnull Destiny som förändrade världen, edited by Nusat Nielsen and Anders Rodell. So this is an essay book in which the authors are talking about things that happened during the 2000s. So the first decade in this millennia, and it goes through everything. Fantasy, that got an upswing, music, USA with World Trade Center, and things like that. This came out, for the record, December 2009, and yeah, for some reason I just feel like they missed the entire last year because they need to write it and then put this to print. But whatever, not my problem, not my book. This one, I mean, this was probably meant, and was when it came out, more thought-provoking and more things like that. But I read this almost 11 years after it came out, because it came out in December, so more than 11 years later, so an entire decade, so the next book can come out now. So for me, this was nostalgia trip. Like I went like, oh yeah, I remember that. Holy crap, people thought that was upsetting. Wow, they should really think about what happened after that. And oh crap, was that a word that we talked? Oh, that's so out of date. Like, it was fun. But, and then obviously things were also a bit like, yeah, do you really want to talk about that part? That was not that. Because there are some premonitions in here, or some hopes for the future, and you just, I can tell you that none of them were good. So yeah, this was definitely more nostalgic, but I did like it. Will probably not really reread it, so we'll see if I end up keeping it or not, but so far I am. Yeah, this was nostalgia through the roof. Which feels so weird to say about a book like that was probably supposed to be very political, but whatever. Then I finished a buddy read, which was a kind of a miracle, because my buddy reading has not been going well. But I finished Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, in which we are following names. I do not remember anything about names. We are following Jadriel, who is a trans man and wants to prove to his family that he is a man. But they do not want him to go through the traditions to become a brujo. So he does it himself. And then he brings back the spirit of one of the kids at his school, Julian, which is this one. And things happen because they only have a few days, and kids are missing, families are missing, shit goes down. This was, for me, there are definitely people who have better descriptions of this, but for me this one was a light-hearted, kind of serious, that took care of things that happened in a couple of days in a reasonable way. It didn't go out of its way to have 50 more thousand things happening in it that logically would not be possible during a couple of pages. You did get a good introduction to it. I think, however, that what this book would have definitely benefited from would have been a prologue. In somewhere about here, like so near the ending, we hear a story. Unfortunately, the place in which the story is placed makes us go, Oh, like we figured everything out. I would have preferred that story and that lesson to be in the beginning of the book, so that you kind of feel smart because you remember things. Yeah. And then basically just have the character who's telling the story be like, and she told this, and then you would actually need to think to remember it. That was probably my biggest pet peeve about this, that there was a little bit too much. Do you remember this? Do you remember this? Do you remember this? And it's like, yeah, like there was not really any surprises in here. That includes the villain and things like that, at least for me. But I liked it, and it was a good. I liked it, and it definitely was. I needed this, basically. It wasn't deep, for me at least, and I loved reading. Yeah, I loved reading about his world, and I wouldn't mind reading another book following these characters to see what happens after this time. It would be really interesting. Then I finished 4 short stories, everything so that I could fulfill this lovely thing here. Woo! Let me just show you, because in April I was part of the Mythathon round 3, and here you can see every single circle is fulfilled. So I did finish the entire thing, but to do that I needed to finish off some short stories, so that's what I'm going to talk to you about now. So I need to look there because I can't remember. The first 2 was short stories by Martha Wells. The first one being The Future of Work Compulsory, which is a short story that takes place before All Systems Red. And then we have Home, Habitat, Range, Niche, Territory. Wow. And that one takes place after the last one, which is Exit Strategy, which is the last one of the 4 first novellas that came out, so before the novel. And I love them. The first one, The Future of Work, we get a glimpse into Murderbot before he meets the current crew, or the ones that he stayed with in the first Murderbot Diaries series, so All Systems Red. I don't know why I just didn't say that, but we get a glimpse, and also people's reactions to what happened, and like, this is things that he does. The things that he did in the first novella was not just something that he ended up with thinking right there and then. That was how Murderbot was as a person, or a bot, or sec unit, whatever. The next one, Home, is told from Mensa's point of view after the events of Exit Strategy, in which she has just purchased the sec unit Murderbot. And we are getting a bit about that because I can't really say anything because I feel like that would be spoilery, but Grace's, yeah, I can't really say anything, but I really enjoyed that story, and yeah, I liked it. I liked having her point of view, and reading how relaxed she is with Murderbot, because what she's scared of, there's nothing to be scared of if Murderbot is there. That was very corny, but I'm gonna keep it in. Then I read and finished The Girlfriend's Guide to Gods by Maria Delvana Headley, which it's pretty hard to describe. It turned out pretty kind of funny, and then it turned melancholic. And I enjoyed the journey in that story, and I don't really know how to describe it. I did like it. But yeah, you get references to mythology, that's all I'm going to actually say about it, because yeah, it was a weird one, but one that I can't say that, oh, it gave me new perspective or I think about it every, because no, I don't. But when I like see the title and I think about it, I remember how it's hard to put into words, but I enjoyed it and it definitely got me thinking a bit. And yeah. And then I read The Angel of Khan el Khalil by P. Djeli Clark, which takes place in the same world as the Tramscar of The Haunting of Tramscar 015, and the new novel that's sold out everywhere, A Master of Jinn. But it takes place in the same world, except it falls on another person who wants to ask an angel for help with saving her sister after a fire. And it basically gives you a bit more of an image of this world, and it's pretty fascinating. But yeah, I would definitely recommend this short story as well. Both that one and the first short story, which I do not remember what it was called. Oh, I did Jinn in Cairo, but that one's also free. But yeah, you get a bit more world building, and I really can't wait to read A Master of Jinn. I want it. Oh, and all those four short stories are free on Tor.com. I'm finished, and I am over the moon about it. Like, thank you. Now I just need to edit this half-an-hour video. Great. So, tell me some books that you read in April. I will not record my May one now. I just know I do not want to. But yeah, please tell me what your favorite book you read in April was. My favorite would have to be a tie. Both Beyond the 100 Kingdoms, so the first book in the Courageous Princess trilogy, and these, yeah, those have to be my favorite, and obviously Murderbot because Murderbot. But yeah, those three are my favorites. But yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.